I think that who you are, whoever you are, if you're obsessed with what somebody else is doing in their life, who they're dating, what their sex life is like, whether or not they've gained weight, whether or not they've had a boob job, endless kind of obsession with this kind of information is something that you might really want to take a look at and ask yourself, am I in my business or am I in somebody else's business? And if I'm continuously putting my focus on what somebody else is doing, what I'm really doing is shifting the energy away from living my life to its absolute fullest and instead living through the accomplishments or the lack of accomplishments or the bad news or the hard times or whatever it is of other people. And I urge you to just not participate in that.
Wayne Dyer was an icon in self-development and spiritual growth. He wrote over 40 books, including an astonishing 21 New York Times bestsellers. His childhood was spent in orphanages and foster homes, but he'd go on to inspire millions and become known as the father of motivation.
In this exclusive radio show provided by our partners at Hay House, Wayne Dyer explains how to stop being obsessed with the lives of others, find your real passion, and live your life to the fullest.
And if you want even more great Hay House content, check out their YouTube channel. We've linked it up down in the description below.
Dr. Dyer, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well this morning.
That's great. I guess it's not morning anywhere else, but I'm in Hawaii,
afternoon,
and it's still morning. Right.
I'm stuck in the same time zone all day long.
Right.
What's going on in your life this week?
Well, I've just been giving a little thought to something that I was talking to my friend Byron Katie about just a few weeks ago on a seminar that we did, which I believe is going to be put out by Hay House as well in another month or two. It was an all-day seminar. And she spoke about not being in other people's business. And I've given that a lot of thought. And there's a lot of ways that that's something that interferes with us, especially with our own happiness and fulfillment as people. One of the things that I've noticed a lot, I don't know if you've noticed it, Summer, but if you look on the newsstand recently, you're going to see just a proliferation of these gossip magazines. And they all look almost the same. And there used to be one or two. There was like People magazine and Us magazine and a few others. But now there must be 50 of these things that are out there, and they all cover the same things. The same people. I think it's Angelina and it's Jennifer and it's Brad and maybe a handful of others. People who are celebrity-type people, and they have photographers following them around wherever they go. And every one of these magazines, in fact, many of them just use the same pictures over and over and over again. And every week, it's the same. It's the continuous thing. And I keep thinking about why are there so many of these now? Why there must be a great deal of profit in that? And why is this one great big profitable item that the American people seem to be just obsessed with the business of other people, who's had plastic surgery, who's pregnant, who looks like maybe they would want to be pregnant, every story is just sort of a continuation of people being obsessed with other people's business. And one of the things that I've learned specifically in the last year or so working on my new book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which won't be out till later this year, but it's on living the Tao. And many of you who follow this radio show know that I have been working on writing individual essays about the 81 verses that Lao Tzu wrote about 2,500 years ago and how to apply this ancient and powerful wisdom. So what I've done is, I've looked at this whole concept of not interfering in our lives and not being obsessed with, other people's lives. The Tao teaches us that non-interference is the most important thing and most important place that we can go to in our lives. So, I was just, the other day, I was assigned to a sort of a little babysitting adventure with my grandson and two little girls. And I was watching them for 3 hours out by the pool, and I noticed I was trying to practice this non-interference, staying out of other people's business, and just making sure that these are three little children that know how to swim and all of that, but just make sure that they're safe. But anything else, just stay out of their business. I had made up my mind I'm going to just stay out of their business. And I would watch the two of them would go together down at one end of the pool, and they'd be fighting about something, and they'd be arguing about this, and then they'd want to come and tell me to resolve it. And it was back and forth with this continuous trying to include me in their business, and I was determined that I was going to stay out of their business. And I would watch as, like I was in the pool with one of the little girls, her name is Kylie, and she started being unhappy about something that her sister had said or my grandson had said. And I looked at her and I said, well, you get that resolved and I'll be right back. And I dove down to the bottom of the pool, swam to the other edge of the pool. By the time I got to the other end of the pool, maybe 20 seconds later, stuck my head up, the two of them were hugging. And I found that over a 3-hour period that I could completely stay out of the business of these little children, and they could resolve it themselves, and we're learning much, much more than just having one great big person come along and interfere. Now, there's an application between that and these gossip magazines, as strange as it may sound, and that is that I think that if who you are, whoever you are, if you're obsessed with what somebody else is doing in their life, who they're dating, what their sex life is like, whether or not they've gained weight, whether or not they've had a boob job, whether or not the endless kind of obsession with this kind of information is something that you might really want to take a look at and ask yourself, am I in my business or am I in somebody else's business? And if I'm continuously putting my focus on what somebody else is doing, what I'm really doing is shifting the energy away from living my life to its absolute fullest and instead living through the accomplishments or the lack of accomplishments or the bad news or the hard times or whatever it is of other people. And I urge you to just not participate in that, to stop purchasing those kinds of things, to stop simply reading them. Don't even open them up and look at that, and instead look within, look at your own life, because basically what we need, I think, are people who are fully committed to making this world a better place rather than just constantly being consumed with gossip about who's doing what and how it's taking place. So that's all I wanted to speak about today, this idea of staying out of other people's business, even your own children's business. One of the great lines that I remember from some of my earlier writing was that the things we love, you have to learn to leave alone. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. And I was practicing that with my own little grandson and children, and I watched as they resolved virtually everything rather than having me interfere. What do you think about that, mama of two?
I think it's a profoundly simple idea that is incredibly complex to actually execute.
Yeah, well, mothers always say that.
Stay away from the fireplace. I'm going to interfere.
But there's a big difference there between, obviously, if you bring children into the world, you can't just say, all right, go out there and play next to the swimming pool. I know you don't know how to swim. If you fall in, you'll work it out. I'm not saying that at all,
I know that, but being attuned to the difference of where you really are needed versus where you can step back.
Yeah. But you'd be surprised how often our young children invoke us to resolve conflicts or difficulties or even tiny little problems that if we just gave them maybe another 20 or 30 seconds, they could resolve it. And I don't mean just little children either. I'm talking about teenagers. I'm talking about your adult children. I'm talking about your friends and everything else. Pretty much allowing other people to figure it out when there's no danger it's just something to look at and realize that by getting dragged in there yourself, almost always you become a part of their problem. And now, and especially if you have two children there and you take sides with either one of them, then the other one is going to be upset, and then back and forth you go.
Right. No, I hear exactly what you're saying, but you have to keep your mind attuned to that process.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Dr. Dyer, I think we have time actually to go right to a call.
Open up with
still
a phone
in
call.
this first
Great.
break. Wonderful first section. We have Katie from Raton, New Mexico. Katie, welcome to our show today.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Dr. Dyer.
How are you?
Good.
You're in New Mexico.
Yes.
I just saw a movie called Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, yes.
Did you see that?
Well, actually, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
But they're going from Albuquerque to Los Angeles.
Yes. They're starting to film a lot out here.
Are they? Yeah, they must be.
In Albuquerque, mainly.
Yes, right. Well, how are you today?
Oh, well, I'm pretty good. I was listening to you talk, and I guess my question is a little different, but
that's okay.
I was wondering, you're talking about living inspired, and I am doing pretty good with I am very inspired, but what I'm having trouble with is maintaining that, I guess. There's so many things that I'm starting a new business, and it's a greenhouse business, growing tomatoes. Actually, I've been doing this, but I'm expanding into a pretty large business now, and I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm very inspired to do it, and I keep getting, I don't know if I'd call them signs or something from the universe that this is the right direction.
What are the signs?
But things like things start working out, or I talk to people that would maybe buy my product, and they're very inspired about what I'm doing. The problem I'm having is the people around me that are close to me don't believe in this at all.
Well, this is related exactly to what I was talking about. They're in your business, aren't they?
Well, very much. My father is the main one, in which I'm 50 years old, but he still likes to get into my business.
Right.
And, I mean, I love him, and he's very helpful, but he's very negative, and he is very afraid for me to go into any kind of debt, let's say, because he's afraid. You know, he's just afraid, but he was always a gambler and a goer and a risk taker and all that, but now he's almost 80, and he doesn't want to see his daughters doing it.
Right. He wants to take the
And I
caution
cannot
away.
live the uninspired life that he just keeps asking me, why can't you just be happy with what you're doing in the status quo? But I would die. I would literally die.
There you go. That's
if I
the
had
answer.
to.
That's the answer. When people say that to me, I'm 66 years old, and I'm, you know, if you look at my website, you'll see a whole host of weekend seminars and trips that I'm going to be taking around the country and going to Europe and, and all of these kinds of things. And basically, I should just stay home and relax. I've done enough.
Right.
But
you have enough money.
Come on, stick around. I want to talk about this. It's really important. You know, one thing that you said there that I just want to reiterate before we leave is that you said that if I don't do it, I would die.
Well, I just don't see myself maintaining the status quo that I'm at right now.
Yeah, and what is that status quo?
Well, I'm working. I have my little greenhouse. It's only running 6 months out of the year, so right now I'm not. Actually, I'm just getting ready to start up again. But it's just not enough. You know, it's small, and it's nice, and I enjoy helping the people that I help, but I've always had a bigger vision than this.
What do you love about this greenhouse tomato business? What
I really love is the idea of producing really quality food and be able to deliver it.
And when you're doing it, like when you're digging and when you're planting and when you got the seeds and when you see the little shoots come out of the ground.
To me, it's just all a miracle.
Isn't it? I mean, isn't it? It's almost like giving birth, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And I get very excited over very little things, like a plant that maybe I brought back to life, because I paid more attention to it, and I might be really excited about that, but I am having trouble finding other people that get as excited as I do.
Do you think it's possible that for your father, for example, you get one person, to have that same feeling inside of him about that as you do?
Do I think it's possible?
Yeah. Do you think it's plausible? I mean,
I think he does also see things sometimes. He fought me on this little business I started.
Right.
And said, you know, it's perishables and you're going to lose all your money and and you can't go against the big box stores. And I just had a lot of faith, and I've done way better than he ever thought I could do. And so for him, if you make a lot of money or make money doing it, it's successful.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's kind of that frame.
One of the great lessons that I learned was as a young doctoral student from Abraham Maslow, one of the great teachers in my life, was that when he was describing people who achieve at the highest level, who reach what he called self-actualization at the very top of the pyramid, he had two assessments of them. One is that these are people who are detached from outcome. Okay. They're detached from outcome, and the other one is that they're independent of the good opinion of other people. Those are the two number one and number two criteria. Okay. Detached from outcome, and that's why I was asking you about the process of what it is that you do, of the digging, of bringing a plant back to life, of the excitement that you feel in participating in the dance of creation, which is what you are doing.
That's what I get excited about.
Yeah, and it's like self-actualizing people let go of the outcome. They don't do what they do because of how much they're going to make, because it's going to make them successful, because they're going to get on the bestseller list, because they're going to sell a lot of tomatoes. They do it because it's just an exquisite thing, and it just has to grow. It's like
it is really exquisite.
But that's what I would suggest to you as well. You want to live an inspired life. You just do what your heart tells you you're here for. That makes your heart sing what you're doing. I can hear that in you.
Right, I do. I mean, that's the time I'm very excited. And what bothers me, I guess, is when I try to share it with my family or people close to me, and they just don't get it, or it's not exciting to them. And then I'm sort of left with this inspiration by myself a little bit right now.
But that's that's another part of this whole process is that the moment that you try to share what it is that you are doing that makes you feel so close to God, the minute that you try to do that, you invoke the ego. Because what happens is you're going to now have to explain it and defend it or be upset because other people don't understand it.
Exactly.
So that's ego. And ego isn't where you're getting all of this inspiration from. You're getting it from spirit. That's what it means to be inspired, to be in spirit.
So the ego is trying to get the approval of others.
Exactly. So what you want to do is you want to detach from that, and you just want to go out there and do it. And if there's somebody comes along who gets excited about it, like I can feel your excitement about these tomatoes. I really can, and I know what that feels like because I sometimes just I'll get a thing of plant seeds that somebody will send me in the mail, just a little thing. Sometimes they implant them in greeting cards. I don't know if you've seen these now, and they just say tear the greeting card up and plant it in the dirt and just water it. And I do that, and a week goes by, and 2 weeks go by, and all of a sudden, this tiny little green thing just shoots up out of, and it's like one of the greatest feelings that you can have in life, to know that you're participating in this dance of creation.
Right.
And I don't try to tell anybody else about it. Someone will come out and look at that thing on my patio and say, "What, you got weeds growing in there?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, and I have a lot of cactus, and when I go in there in the mornings, every one of them is different, and I may have new blooms every morning. Or, you know, something exciting has happened over the nighttime, and I can go in the morning, and it's like sitting there looking at me, and I get so excited about the way the bloom looks. How is it possible that this little cactus...
See, this is where you have to stay, Katie. You really have to stay with it. And when you said to me, I would die inside if I wasn't doing this, I remember somebody asked that of Madonna, you know, the singer Madonna. And she, they asked her, like, you know, you've made millions and millions of dollars. You're very wealthy. Why do you continue to put out albums? Why do you keep singing? And I'll never forget what she said. She said, because if I didn't do it, I would die inside. Okay. And so whether it's singing or whether it's your tomatoes or whether it's, for me, it's my writing or my speaking or whatever it is, whoever you are out there, whatever it is that makes your heart sing, stay with that, and the universe will take care of the details.
Okay.
The profits are just not that important. I promise you.
Okay.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Well, thank you so much.
What a lovely call. Thanks. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Interesting metaphor there for living.
Yes, it really is. Yeah, that thing that excites us, and none of us, everybody has it. For somebody, it's just throwing a baseball. You know, it's just getting out there and doing that all day long. For somebody else, it's sitting and drawing. One of my kids would just sit there and draw and draw and draw and draw. One of my children would just all she could think about was horses. That was her whole life. All she could, and when she got her horse and she would get on that horse, I mean, her whole institution as a person, everything about her would shift because of the joy that she felt. She had connected to her source, and that's what we're talking about here.
Well, I can see that this is going to be an interesting hour of calls, Dr. Dyer, because we're going now to Sue in Irvine, California on line 9, and I think she also has a similarly unusual question for you. Sue, welcome to our show.
Hi, Dr. Dyer. I'm such a fan of you. I can't believe I'm talking to you.
Thank you. That's nice to talk to you.
My question is just, I have a son, he's 24 years old, and he's getting his master's degree this year in public policy. But right now he's getting involved in a hard metal band group.
With what?
Like a hard metal music, you know, hard metal.
Yes, hard metal, yes.
Yes, and then, and you know, Dr. Dyer, this is totally very, very different for us because we are not American. I'm from Middle East, and this is so against our culture because, you know, all our children are either like engineers or doctors or all these professionals. And then how you were saying that if you love someone, you leave them alone. But
we have to learn to love the things we love. We have to learn to leave alone. Yeah. I mean, and the truth of that is, you know, it's like if you really love something and you try to help it out, get in the way of it. There's a wonderful, and I'll get back to the hard metal thing in a moment, but there's a wonderful story. I always remember this from when I was back in graduate school of they would film these little baby chickens that were inside. They could actually see through x-rays. They could see them as they were trying to poke their little beaks, against the shell in order to get out, okay, to become born. And they would struggle and struggle and struggle, and it's such a hard little thing because they got these tiny little things inside of this eggshell, and they have to break that shell. So that some of the students, what they would do is they would try to help the little bird along by just cracking it a little bit so it would be easier for it. And every single time, one of the students that were doing this, in their sympathy and in their desire to help this other person, this little tiny baby chicken, they would, the chicken would die. The thing would, every single time it would die. But the ones that were left alone, the ones that, because the part of the process, apparently, for being born for a little tiny chicken is that it has to go through that struggle. That real hard exertion is what gives it the strength to be able to break through and to move on. And I think we have to remember, it's a simple little metaphor, but we have to remember it with our own children as well, and with everyone else, and especially even a 24-year-old. You know, that if he is feeling deeply within him that this kind of heavy metal music is something that is his calling, and he's really attracted to it, I think letting him go is might be the way. Don't go away. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Well, is it a band that he wants to start?
Yeah. Well, no, he is right now in a band. He plays bass there.
How's he doing?
Believe it or not, I just saw it once and I couldn't stand it at all. I was going crazy. I thought, this is not my son.
Is that your son?
We're all laughing.
What do you think he should be singing? Oh, Solo Mio?
No.
That was the last program. We had our opera singer on from New York, remember?
Right. I do.
No, but Doctor, I'm so involved with it because every time I see these movies about these hard metals, they're always involving drugs and alcohol. It's just.
But that's not the case. That's only some of them. I mean, there are there are rappers for Jesus that are out there. There are hard metal people who are singing songs that are really attempting to, who are against violence and who hate the wars and so on. I don't know where your son stands on that. But all I know for sure is that if he's in that band and if he's playing it and if he feels that it's something that he has to do and it's not interfering with anybody else's, life and not hurting anyone, then I think giving him your blessing would be probably the best thing that you could do.
But, Doctor, how about the investment we did for him for so many years for going to school? He could have not, what I'm saying, it's just because he could have done this without even going to school.
But he's only 24. I mean, he's 24 years old. I mean, it doesn't mean that when he's 50, he's going to still be singing but we really don't know. None of us do, because it isn't up to us to make those kinds of decisions for other people. I mean, you can put a kid into school and you can send their tuitions in and you can have them take all of their courses and so on. But inside of them beats a drum beat that is very different than the one that you hear. And for him, I mean, it's something that it sounds to me it's like it's something that he has to do. Does he say that to you?
He said his music is his passion. He said that's what he always wanted to do.
Mm.
But he went to school. He went through. That's what I'm saying. He's getting his master's degree this year from a very prestigious school.
What is your passion?
My passion, to be honest with you, for him or for myself?
No, for you.
Oh, I'm too old. I don't have any more passion, Doctor.
Oh my goodness! How old are you?
I'm 46.
You're 46.
Yes.
And you're already too old, and you have no passion left?
No, I don't have any more passion. My passion were my children, Doctor.
Well, I would encourage you to understand, what Gibran said about your children. Your children are not your children. They are the products of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not for you. Your children came through you. They're not yours. And I would suggest to you that you probably have a great passion, something that inside of you, is something that you've always wanted to do, but you've never quite given yourself permission to do it because you've been so consumed, probably, with being such a wonderful mother and taking care of your children and all of that. But now you're getting to a point where you're realizing that you can't make your children become what you think that they should be just because they happen to be biologically related to you. And I would urge you, my dear, very strongly, Sue, to go within and look at what your own passion might be. And maybe you should go to school and find a course that, find something that just excites you. What is it that excites you more than anything? Is there anything out there like that?
To be honest with you, Dr. Dyer, I never even think about it. I go work every day. I go home. I cook for my husband. And I have a great relationship with my husband, but I never thought to do anything for myself, just go find my passion, because we were immigrant in this country and we were always work and work and work.
But you're a child of God. You are a piece of God, and you came into this world to complete something. There's something that you're here for, and I know that if I had enough time with you, you'd be able to spit it out. And there's probably been some kind of a fear in there that if I do this, then I won't be as good a wife, and I won't be as good a mother, and I won't be as good a homemaker. But the fact is that if you felt that deep sort of commitment to what it is that you are as a human being, what it is that you are, I think, and Summer, I mean, you might even add to that. I mean, you're a mom, you've got a busy home and all of that, but you also have this great passion with this radio show, and how do you bring them both together?
Very carefully. Really, Sue, when I heard you say you were too old for passion, I was shaking my head here, biting my tongue.
Well, I always try to listen to you every Monday. Even I'm at work right now, but I just have to listen to you. My lunch hour I take and listen to you. But that's what I'm saying, Doctor. I don't see anything for myself anymore. I'm just looking forward for my children's future. Honestly, I don't. Yeah. I think I'm done. I did all I could have done.
No, you're not, Sue. You're not even close to done. You're just beginning. In fact, the fact that you listen and the fact that you hear this and you hear the kind of things that we speak about and you hear about being inspired and you hear about making a difference in the world. I mean, you know, Mother Teresa didn't even start her work as a nun until she was 55. 55, and she's a saint. You know, I mean, she's 10 years older than you are before she even went into her religious training, and spent like 40 years making a huge difference in the lives of the whole world. You're hardly even beginning, and I would say that to anybody that is out there. Go within, listen, get quiet, watch your children, enjoy them, but find your own passion as well and live that, and you're going to find yourself a really happier mother, wife, but most of all, your number one relationship in the world shouldn't be to your husband, it shouldn't be to your children, it should be to God, and that is the highest part of yourself. You are a piece of God. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much. I love you so much, Dr.
I love
Dyer.
you too. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Dyer, you know, that call was really about Sue. I don't think it should have been about her son at all.
Well, that's why I shifted it.
Yeah. I agree with you. All right, let us go on.
And heavy metal is great. You know? Bamba, 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 whatever.
Yeah. All right, Abby from Milford, Delaware. Abby, welcome to our program on Line 5 today.
Hi.
Hi, Abby.
Oh, I can't believe I'm actually speaking to you.
Why not?
I'm just such a huge fan. I'm shaking like a leaf now.
Where are you located?
I'm in Delaware.
Delaware? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I think what you said to that woman about Mother Teresa had to have inspired her completely. I think that was wonderful.
Most people don't realize that about her. She was 55 when she decided to go into the
No, I didn't know that either. That's
do the
awesome.
kind of work that she was doing, yeah. And look at Nancy Pelosi. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't.
I mean, she's the Speaker of the House in the United States. She's the first woman who's ever held. She's the third person in line to if the president and vice president were to die, she would be the president of the United States. She raised all 5 of her children and didn't go out until they were all raised. And now I think she's 64 or 65 years old, and she's out there as the Speaker of the House. I mean, she didn't start it until she was in her 50s.
Wow.
So there's lots and lots of room for all of us, yeah.
I guess.
What is your question, dear?
Well, I think what I do is I constantly am thinking about creation and what the whole point in us even being here is and, like, how it all began. And, like, it's just so mind-boggling, just bends my mind and makes me feel so uneasy that I start to just wonder what's the point in anything, what's the point in doing anything. And I'll read books of yours and I'll hear different things that inspire me and make me feel enlightened, and for a moment I'm just like, wow, that's awesome, and I'll think on that, and then the other stuff creeps in again that I'm just like, well, what's the point? And I have doubt just constantly creeping in, and
it sounds like I'm just guessing, but it sounds like there's like this huge fear of death. Is there any?
It's just fear of even being alive, fear of just thinking, like, how did God even start to make anything begin, and just all of that, the whole, just
I know, I was watching
wrapping your brain around it is nearly impossible.
There was a story in the New York Times yesterday about what life was like, what the universe was like at the very beginning, at what they call the Big Bang. And I always think, how could there be a beginning? Because you have to say what was there before the beginning, and how could there be an end?
I can't help but be tremendously uneasy when I think about that, and I just want to live and just be.
Stick around. Let's talk about it. So, like, in the great big context of things, it just all seems too big to even wrap our fingers around, doesn't it? It's just, and yet,
so it makes me not stay inspired for long because I just start to doubt and say, well, what's the point?
Yeah. The real essence of what we're talking about here is the ability to be able to stay in the moment. You know, it's because what we do with what we do with the kind of questions that you're asking and the kind of things that we contemplate, like how big is this, and how long am I going to be dead, and is there life after life, and and where does the universe end, and how could such a thing even begin? And you look out at the billions and billions of stars and realize that there's endless numbers of galaxies with even more stuff. It just goes and goes and goes. And if we were to just take off and shoot up into the sky and say, okay, I'll just keep going, and how far will I ever come to the end of the universe? And you'll find out that there can't be an end. I mean, how could there be an end? What would be at the end? A wall? And then you have to ask yourself, well, what's on the other end of the wall? What's on the other side? It's like that endlessness, because who we are, and this is really important, who we are is this paradox of that which began and ended. That's this body of ours. It began in a moment and it ended in a moment, but also internally within us, there's this huge paradox of all of these thoughts and all of this stuff that comes out of nowhere. It comes out like, what is a mind and what is a thought and where does it come from? And we can go inside of ourselves and we can find the command center that allows in the brain that allows us to have a thought, but we can never find the commander in the command center that's in there directing us to move our fingers or to go forward or to have this idea. And it's like, instead of fighting it and getting worried about it and it's like, move yourself always back into this moment. To say to yourself, here, now, this is all that I have, and whatever I can do to make it a better place for myself and for others, that's got to be enough. That seems to me what God does.
Well, I do that often, and I'll get myself back in the moment, and I'll say, okay, I don't need to know. I don't have to wrap my brain around all that. I can just be like, I feel like everybody else is just living and just being, and there's just me, little old me, sitting here questioning it all.
No, little old me does the same thing.
And I can't, it just feels like it paralyzes me, like I just
well, that's the thing it doesn't do for me. It doesn't paralyze me, because sometimes, I remember, I always tell the story when I was a little boy. I was living in an orphanage, and I was about 7 years old. And the lady whose house that we lived in, her name was Mrs. Scarf. She came out and she handed my brother David and I. We were sitting on the back steps, a banana, and I peeled the banana, and she said, and she was sobbing, and she said, "Mr. Scarf died this morning." Now I had never heard the word death before when it related to a person. I'd heard it about chickens because we used to kill chickens, and I'd seen dead bugs and things, but I had never ever thought of the idea of people as dying. And I remember asking her, when will he be back? And she said, never. Now, I went upstairs, and I lived on a bunk bed. I slept on a bunk bed. There were 6 of us that slept in this room, and I slept on the very top. And I laid there, eating that banana. I could remember this like it was yesterday, trying to contemplate the concept of never, of never coming back. Just like it was and it's like, so I'd think, well, what if it was 100 years? Well, what if it was 1,000,000 years? What if but never. And it was so paralyzing and so difficult for me that I had to immediately shift my thoughts off of it. It was just too much to even begin to contemplate. And there's that whole thing about the oneness of the universe, about what God must be like, about what it must be to be in a universe which never ends, which is that is something that you are going to know. You're going to know that. I believe that because I listened to Abraham, and I really believe that Abraham is one of the great teachers on the planet today, the teachings of Esther and Jerry Hicks, that moment when you leave this world of form and beginnings and ends and boundaries, and when you leave that and enter into that oneness, that space where all things are one, and that there's no beginnings, there's no ends, there's nothing for us to fear, you're going to know the greatest bliss that you've ever had. Why not work at doing that now? And if we're wrong, we're wrong.
And so that's how you've shifted from when you said as a boy the thought paralyzed you, and now it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. It's so incomprehensible for us who believe that we did begin and end, that there is all of this. It's so incomprehensible for us because we're so connected to our ego, which is the part of us that believes we are this body, we are separate from everybody else, we are what we have, we are what we look like, we are whatever it is. And to get past that, and that's basically what my life work is. It's really about teaching people to get past that and to be at peace with the great oneness. And then that great fear of death and that great fear that it doesn't all fit together will leave us. That's all I can say about it. I mean, we could go on and on about it, but it's like, to me.
So what are some things I could do to get at that peace?
Always shift back into this moment and say, how can I be at peace now? What is it that instead of using that great unknown as something to be afraid of, use that great unknown as something that you anticipate and that you're excited about and you have no fear about. Because every being who's ever been on this planet, every being, all the billions and billions of us, we all return. As the Tao said, the way of Tao is a return trip. We are on our way back to the place from which we originated. Why not make that return trip without having to die and enjoy every moment that we have?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you're very inspiring, and I love your work, and I'm always telling people about your books and trying to spread your knowledge.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's fascinating stuff, what you talked about. And to think that it's just little old you that is contemplating all of these things and wondering and all of that, it's not little old you. Every single one of us has this great desire to be connected to that thing from which we all came to, which we know is greater than we are. There is something to which all of us are connected that is greater than we are. And if we could just trust in it and just have faith in it, it'll bring us a lot more peace.
And one more thing, I know I'm taking up a lot of time, but I just got your Getting in the Gap book and CD. Would that help me?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I was going to recommend that, as a matter of fact, that you look at and do that meditation that's in that CD at the end of that book. It's called Japa, where you just repeat the sound of the name of God and watch the peacefulness come over you. Watch and just sort of become the observer to how much joy and peace there is in those kinds of contemplative moments in which you make conscious contact with God.
Okay.
Okay, sweetheart.
I will
God
continue
bless
doing
you.
that.
Namaste.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your call, Abby. Well, Dr. Dyer, we've only got a few minutes. Do you want to try taking
let's
one
take
last
one
person?
quick one. Yeah.
How about Kim? She's been holding on from Haliburton, Ontario, Canada. Kim?
Hi there.
Quickly, come
Hi,
on.
Kim.
Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. It's a little chilly up here, but...
Yes, I heard.
Yeah. A lot of snow.
Yeah.
My question, actually, I'll try to get to it quickly. My husband and I are going to be moving in with his parents. I wondered how I can sort of maintain my spiritual balance.
The
living
peace
with my
that you,
in-laws.
because we only have a minute or so,
Yes.
the peace that you want for yourself, okay? The joy, the peace, the happiness, the fulfillment, just the sense of serenity that you desire for yourself, want it more for them than you do for yourself, and you'll live in peace with them.
Wow. Okay.
Want it more for them, whoever they are. They're much older. They've got whatever. But just as you think about what I want, what do I want? I want to be peaceful. I want to be able to live with these people happily. I want to be able to, want that more for them. Every time you have this thing about me, shift it to them and just watch. And just watch how much joy you'll receive in being able to serve these older people, rather than thinking about how they're interfering or how they're not the same as you or how they're from a different generation. Let all of that go. Reach out, surround them with the kind of loving energy and say, what can I do to give them the peace that I desire so much?
I love them very much, but
yeah.
I want to take care of them. I want to help them. I just wanted to, like you were talking about at the beginning of the show, how do you maintain and stay out of people's business and that kind of thing. You've been given a gift, the ability to serve other people, because that's what God realization is. God is doing nothing. The source is doing nothing but always providing, always giving, always making available to us the endless abundance and prosperity and joy and peace and happiness that's available to all of us. By doing that, by just continuously doing that, you'll forget all about yourself and just say, it's my turn to serve. My dear friend Ram Dass, who lives over here on Maui with me, said that the last year of his life, when he took care of his father and he had to put him on the toilet and he had to wipe him and he had to lift him off and he said it was the greatest year of his life. He learned more from that than any other experience. Oh, absolutely. They are our teachers for sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much for your call. And Dr. Dyer, until next week.
Thank you, my dear.
Okay, take
Another
care.
Good day.
Another good day here on Dr. Wayne Dyer's Inspiration.
To watch another amazing Wayne Dyer video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
How willing are you to do whatever it takes to align your behavior with this burning desire that has been placed inside of you? If you have anything on your unwilling list, well, I'm not willing to do this, and I can't afford that, and it means I might have to move here.